Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's broadcast. We have a masterclass ready for you guys. I hope everyone is doing well. Let me know in the comments section who you are, where you're from. My name is Anthony. I am from the Milano Montenero School, one of the 3 schools here in Milan. We have Johnny. Hi, I'm Johnny from Mayas Padua. Nice. Very cool. Nice to see you. Nice to hear from you as well. Yeah. Originally, I come from the U.S. I come from the city of Atlanta, Georgia. That is my city. Cool. So, we can get started soon because we have quite a few things to actually discuss here in this focus. And as more people join in, I'll invite them as well to let me know who they are, where they're from. So today we're talking about robots, a very cool subject for me, hopefully for you as well. I don't know, Johnny, sir, are you a science fiction fan? Personally, I am a fan of science fiction. I love Star Wars, I love Star Trek, and just sci-fi environments in general, stories, short stories, things like that. So you can let me know if you are a fan or not of science fiction. Because robots are definitely a very popular subject in science fiction. Also, androids are very popular as well. Now, there's a difference between a robot and an android. A robot is like what you see here on the screen. It is a computerized object that can walk and perform simple tasks based on very strict coding and programming. It cannot process information and make decisions on its own. But an android is usually autonomous, meaning that it can do things on its own and it can learn as well. So there's a little difference between a robot and an android. A robot just does its tasks. It's more simple than an android. So we'll discuss the invention of new robots. We're going to read about new designs. And if you would like to, you yourself can design a robot of your own. So we're going to check that out today in this focus. Part A, input. A terrifying future? Question mark? Some people are afraid of robots because if you're familiar with movies like The Terminator, movies like that, then you see that robots will probably take over the world. Johnny says, I'm not skilled in this field, but it could be a good opportunity to learn not only English, but also something new. Okay, good. I'm happy that you are ready to learn something new and interesting. Cool. This, of course, is the world famous R2-D2 from the Star Wars series. One of my favorite robots for sure. So much personality, so much attitude, but he only makes little beeps. He doesn't even speak. Question 1 says, have you watched a TV series or film that featured robots? Which ones? What is your favorite and why? When, typically, do problems arise with robots in these types of film? Well, please, you can put your answers down in the chat if you have watched a series like this, or maybe you haven't. Let me know, and we'll see what your opinions are on these things. And I'll also share with you my answers. My answer to number one is absolutely. I have watched many TV series and many films that talk about robots. Star Wars is one. Star Trek features mostly androids. An android would be like the character Data from Star Trek. So I've watched many films that include robots. Also, I, Robot, the movie with Will Smith. I, Robot, good movie involving robots. Terminator. It's a classic sci-fi cliche that I would call it. We use the French word in English, cliche, to mean something that is very typical and almost something that is used too much. It's something that they use too often, and it becomes kind of not interesting because it's too typical, it's too common. So I think robots taking over the world is kind of a cliche idea. It has been done many times before. It's not new. But then 2 says, when typically do problems arise with robots in these types of films? Well, typically, problems arise with robots when they begin to think. When robots start thinking for themselves, and when they start realizing that they are better than humans, and they start trying to take over and start trying to kill the humans. Johnny says, I didn't watch a TV series about robots. Only a few short moments of Star Trek. Okay. Cool. But that's still good. Star Trek is awesome. Very good. So typically things like Battlestar Galactica TV series, the idea of that is robots that evolved and start thinking for themselves and start becoming sentient, meaning that they have ideas and opinions, and they start trying to take over. So that's the problem. Number 3, is there a difference between a machine like a microwave and a robot? How would you define a robot? Well, yes, obviously. A microwave is a device that the input is received directly and manually by a human. And a robot functions based on code and does pre-coded tasks and appears to function on its own. John, I think that typically problems could be a crash in their functioning. Okay, that's another concept too, when the robots fail. So the robots can either fail or become too advanced that they start trying to take over the world and killing people. So I define a robot as something that does a predefined task repeatedly and doesn't really go beyond that one task and acts without you giving input to it. It does it on its own. Number 4, is there a strong robotics industry in your country? Which countries do you associate more with robots? With robots, I would say definitely Japan. Japan is the first country that comes to mind with robots because in Japan, they have restaurants that are completely operated by robots, and there is a show, a performance, an entertainment show done by robots. To me, a robot is a machine controlled by a computer that performs jobs automatically. Perfect, yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah. Also in Japan, they have a hotel that is operated completely by robots. So you go to the front desk of the hotel to talk about your reservation, to get the key for your room, and to get all your supplies, whatever you need. And the operator is a robot. There are also trains performed by robots in Japan. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, yeah. Also, drones. There are drones that are operated just remotely, not by people. That's kind of a scary idea because they can put weapons on drones. Yeah. I don't know about you, Johnny, or about anybody else who is watching the recorded broadcast. Maybe. What is your opinion? Are you scared of robots? Are you optimistic about how they can help us? Or are you worried about robots becoming too intelligent that they decide to take over the world and destroy everything? I like to think more positively about robots because they can really help us in developing things, in performing tasks that are too dangerous for humans. They can be a bit beneficial for older ones as well, elderly people. But I think Italy has a strong robotics industry. I know the father of a friend of mine is a robotics engineer in Italy. So we're going to read an article about robots and answer some questions. True or false for these questions? Okay. Let me share this article. Okay, so Korea is another place I would say is also famous for robots. It says, this is helpful for you guys to hear, to listen along with my pronunciation. And for you, if you'd like to read at home, read along with it. This is a really good exercise for, of course, fluency and vocabulary as well. And perhaps in the medical field. Yeah, of course. In Italy, we are far from a strong use of them as apart from cars industry. Okay, yeah, it's true. But I know there are places here too where they do research at least. But yeah, not using them as much as places like Japan or Korea. In the medical field, of course, yeah, that's very true. Because operations can be completed like that, yeah. Cool. Or also in jail. This is from November 2011. Robotic prison wardens to patrol South Korean prison. Now, of course, at any time, if you have a question about vocabulary, please just write it in the chat. Let me know, and we can discuss it after. Robot wardens are about to join the ranks of South Korea's prison service. A jail in the eastern city of Pohang plans to run a month-long trial with 3 of the automatons in March. So automaton, automatically operating machine. A robot. These machines will monitor inmates for abnormal behavior. Researchers say they will help reduce the workload of other guards. South Korea aims to be a world leader in robotics. Business leaders believe the field has the potential to become a major export industry. The 3 5-foot-high, or 1.5 meter, robots involved in the prison trial have been developed by the Asian Forum for Corrections, a South Korean group of researchers who specialize in criminality and prison policies. It said the robots move on 4 wheels and are equipped with cameras and other sensors that allow them to detect risky behavior such as violence and suicide. Professor Lee Baek-choo of Kyunji University, who led the design process, said the robots would alert human guards if they discovered a problem. As we're almost done with creating its key operating system, we are now working on refining its details to make it look more friendly to inmates, the professor told the Yonhap news agency. The 1-month trial will cost 1 billion won, or 554,000 pounds. So that's like 600,000 or 700,000 euro, maybe, something like that. And is being sponsored by the South Korean government. Wow. It is the latest in a series of investments made by the state to develop its robotics industry. The country's Ministry of Knowledge Economy said in January that it had spent the equivalent of 415 million pounds on research in the sector between 2002 and 2010. It said the aim was to compete with other countries, such as Japan, which are also exploring the industry's potential. In October, the ministry said the Korean robot market had recorded 75% growth over the past 2 years and was now worth about 1 billion pounds. Very, very interesting. And we have a nice picture of this robot. It looks really funny, actually. I like the design of it. It looks like something from a science fiction television show or something. Cool. So unless we have any questions, we'll go back and answer some questions after this. But we have a second part to the article. It talks about robots everywhere. Just 1 second. Nice. Need to stay hydrated. So, robots everywhere. Success stories reported by the Korean media include Samsung Techwin's sale of a robotic surveillance system to Algeria and shipments of the humanoid Hubo robot to 6 universities in the US. The South Korean defense company Dudan is also developing robotic gun turrets for export, which can be programmed to open fire automatically. Within the country, English-speaking robotic teaching assistants are already being developed in some schools to help children to practice their pronunciation. How would you like that? Instead of a human like me, a robot English teacher? John says it seems the future. Yeah, it seems like the future, but it's the reality actually. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. I personally haven't seen a robot like this, but I don't think it will take very long. In a short time, we can have something like this in Italy as well, and most countries of the world, yeah. So practicing pronunciation with a robot English teacher. That could be very cool. The Jungang daily newspaper reported in August that a company called Shobo had begun mass producing a robot that bowed to shop customers and told them about promotions on offer. Other firms say they hope to start selling robots to help care for the elderly before the end of the decade, and personal assistant robots further down the line. The government is also building a robot land theme park in the northwest city of Incheon, or Incheon, I don't know how to pronounce it, to help highlight the country's success. Planners say they hope 2.8 million people will visit each year. Whoa. Very interesting. This is a good use of it for sure. Okay. A robot that bows to shop customers, it's okay. It's not the best idea. It's certainly an interesting idea, but I think too many robots might take the jobs away from humans, because humans need jobs as well. But if they just make a robot do it, then people lose jobs. So to care for the elderly, this is a great use of a robot, but it also means that some people can lose jobs as well. But definitely a good idea. A robot theme park, that is a great idea because it doesn't really eliminate too many jobs from people. So, because that could be one concern with the job market, right? Interesting. All right. So, for this part, I'm going to answer some true or false questions. Number 1, true or false? Robots have been designed to help with prisoner rehabilitation. Number 2, South Korea is the world leader in robotics. True or false for these? So for number 2, I think it's not too difficult to see that the answer is no. South Korea is not really the world leader in robotics. I don't think the article says who is the actual world leader, but I would have to say it's Japan. I think that robotic applications will have a strong and useful development, but not to eliminate the human presence. True. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Nothing can ever replace the human touch. Well, it can't happen. Yeah. But I think in a way it can create more jobs in the field of robotics development, robotic research. It creates more jobs in that field. And more jobs for people who need to repair robots. A robot repair company. So it can help in that way as well. I think definitely for dangerous jobs, robots can be useful to protect more people. So one, it says it's false. This is false. Why? Because rehabilitation means the people in prison, the inmates, what we call them, we call people in prison inmates. It says it would help them. Rehabilitation means helping them to recover and to be better, but that's not the purpose. The robots are actually designed to be aware of suspicious or dangerous behavior, to warn of violent action, not actually to help the prisoners recover. South Korea is the world leader? I would say false as well, yeah. Cool. So, number 3 says, what's the purpose of the robot's sensors in prison? Like I said a minute ago, the purpose is to look for dangerous behavior. Number 4, what could be a potential problem with this? Robots can be tricked. I agree with you about the new robotic industry, new jobs, etc. Yeah, definitely could be interesting. Companies that produce products like plastics and metal, they will have new things to developing parts of the bodies for robots. So in one way, it can sustain one industry, but could have impacts negatively on other industries. A potential problem with robots in the prison is how aware are the robots? Maybe the robots can be tricked. I don't know. It might be easy to destroy the robot or something. Or the robot can just simply not see something. That if we depend too much on the robots, to me, I think bad things can happen. 5. How do you feel about the prison guard robots? Ugh. I feel like it's an interesting application of robotic technology. But I don't see why you have to develop a robot to do this. Make more intelligent cameras. I think if you develop a camera technology that has all the technology of this robot, but just put it in a camera that just spins and monitors the situation, you can do almost the same thing. But I guess with a robot, they're a little bit more free. It's not because a camera is in one place, and it looks in that one place and sees from one point of view. But I guess with a robot, it can move around freely in the prison and look from different points of view, look directly into the prison, into the cell where the prisoner is, and get a closer view than a camera. So maybe, yeah, when you think about it that way, actually, it does make more sense. What about the future costs for their maintenance? Yeah, I know. Yeah, costs for maintenance, even the cost to buy a robot. I mean, how much does it cost to buy a robot in the first place? So you can buy a robot and then pay, who knows, it costs thousands and thousands, millions of dollars to buy a robot, to do a job, and then you have to pay to maintain the robot, or you can pay a person, a human being. It depends. I don't know. I think it's a difficult, could be a difficult decision for some companies. I don't know. You know, one thing that I want personally is a robot that cleans my house. Yeah, a robot that cleans my dishes, that washes the plates, washes my clothes. I would like that. To me, I want to do more research into developing something like that. That would be awesome. But at the same time, we risk becoming too lazy. And that would become like the movie WALL-E. I don't know if you've seen that movie from Disney. In WALL-E, all the humans are huge and fat, and they're too lazy. They can't do anything because robots do everything for them. So that's another danger. Okay, we're going to make some connections now. Connecting ideas. It says connect the ideas below to create a sentence. Think about the cost for buying the robot Bimby for cooking. Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah. It's a very useful tool, though. Bimby's pretty cool. Many years ago, I had the Roomba. We called it a Roomba. The circle vacuum cleaner that goes around in your house by itself and vacuums your floor. But it was a long time ago. The technology wasn't so good, so it didn't clean everything very well. It just hit the wall like this. It's kind of stupid. So, lesson connecting phrases. Connect the ideas below to create a sentence. Government with uprising, for example. The government plans to curb the uprising. To curb is to slow down. And the uprising is like a revolution. People coming to rebel against the government or that kind of a cause. So, in the comments below, you can feel free to make your own sentences. Create a sentence. You don't have to do all of these, just pick one that's good for you and connect it with the other word that's next to it. So right now, plans are underway to create robot construction workers. There's an example. I don't know if it's true or not, but Right now, a new robot assistant is in the works to support the elderly and help care for them. So we're taking these two concepts and building a whole sentence from it. Two words, software and glitch. So companies developing robots should do a lot of testing to make sure there are no glitches in their software. And again, any questions you have about this vocabulary, if you don't know something, let me know. Objective, and then establish itself. One of the objectives of people developing androids is to see if the android can establish itself in society and start operating for itself rather than requiring new code and updates. Can it establish itself and start thinking for itself and become totally autonomous? Could it even evolve? In the works. Elderly could not accept easily this news. Okay. Yeah. So new robots are in the works, but the elderly could not accept this news easily. We'll actually put the word easily. Usually, it's grammatically it's not necessarily wrong, but when we speak, we put the adverb, like easily, at the end of the sentence. They couldn't accept the news easily. Currently in use, robot waiters are currently in use in Japan. Developments and pipeline. Let's see. Different companies are currently working on developments to create a consistent pipeline for distributing and manufacturing robots. I like that. Okay, cool. Yeah, just a helpful tip, helpful advice. I do want to say thank you very much, Johnny, for giving your comments today because it helps very much. I think you are the only person who's watching, so it helps me to have someone to speak with, to see some replies from. So it's really awesome. Thank you very much. So affable. So affable is not a common word. Currently, only a few countries are developing this technology. Okay, sure. Affable. This is not a common word. I recently had to look up the definition of this word. Affable. It means friendly. So affable means something that is. In the future, robots could also be affable. Yeah. So being something friendly, warm, kind, and more natural. Friendly in a more human way. So we can combine many of these. Currently, a new type of software is in the works to develop an affable robot to help the elderly. So we can link all these words together to make more sentences. Complete and fine tuning. Okay. Complete obviously is finished. Fine tuning, or we can say the final touches. Fine tuning is after most of the work is complete, you have tiny little adjustments, tiny little details to fix. That's the fine tuning. Usually it's done at the end to do a little bit of testing, make small changes, because all the big changes, all the big work is done. But at the end, before it is really complete, you have to do some fine tuning to fix it. Usually to check for glitches in the software. All right, so interesting activity. Helping us to generate sentences, giving us some good vocabulary. So part 2 talks about the production of robots. iRobot. I remember this little dog toy when they released this robot. It was advertised as a robot dog for children mostly to play with. And I don't know, it did some stupid things. But I had some friends who had one, and it was interesting for a very short time. But then eventually when you realize it only does a few things, then it becomes less interesting because it can't adapt, it's just programmed. iRobot. Number 1, what kind of everyday problem would you like to solve with the help of a robot? Ooh. Let's see. An everyday problem. The help of a robot. Making coffee. Making breakfast. I would say. Cooking would be good. But I think something like cooking would be good for a robot actually to, if you as a person invent a recipe and you teach the robot how to recreate the recipe, because then the robot will be consistent. Every time it will repeat this activity in the same exact way. But for humans, for us, every time we cook something, it tastes a little bit different. So if you want something to be more consistent, maybe you can use a robot. So I don't know about you, Johnny, if you would like to create a robot to solve an everyday problem. Cooking is one example. There could be other stuff. To remind me the deadlines. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Even in a calendar. Today calendars can do that. Calendar applications, reminders. But robots would be good. Definitely to clean my house. Yeah. Number 2, do you think that someday people will have robots as companions instead of pets? Why or why not? Maybe. But a robot dog. In my personal opinion, a robot dog can never replace a physical dog. So you said, why not? Yeah, it can happen. I think it can happen, but I think nobody will ever stop having dogs. People love dogs too much because they're breathing. They're living, breathing things. They have a heartbeat. They have unpredictable behavior sometimes, and that keeps it interesting. It's not always as interesting if it's predictable. A robot dog is predictable. It does the same thing every time. But I think people will always prefer real dogs. I believe people will have robot pets, but real pets will always be more popular to me. Number 3, would you cry if a robot of 10 years died. I mean, yeah, probably. Eventually, you do get attached, even if it's a robot pet. It's not the same as a real pet, but I think people can get attached to robotic things because of the way they behave. I think people would cry if R2D2 or C3PO died from Star Trek. Very famous classic robots that people are very attached to. There's a lot of nostalgia when it comes to Star Wars. So I think people would definitely have an emotional attachment. Some more connecting phrases. Here we see, of course, the famous Matrix. What are some synonyms for the following words? Let's generate some synonyms. Okay. Underway. Underway. We have objective. We have the word glitch. Robot. Developments. Fine-tuning and complete. So, underway. A synonym for underway, I would say, is in progress. There you are. Exactly what I would say. Perhaps I might have it also. If I see the situation very rare, yeah, it would be rare. Objective, the aim. Perfect, yeah. Very good. Developments, fine-tuning. Complete, okay, it's not too bad. Complete, we can say finished. We can say done. Couple words like that. Oh, technical problem. Yeah, good. Good adjective, a good synonym for glitch. Automaton for robot, of course. A glitch, we could also say a bug. There is a bug in the system. So a technical problem or a glitch. Developments. I'm thinking of progress. I'm thinking of advancements. New advancements. New things created. Okay, exactly. Advancements. Fine-tuning. Let's see, I'm thinking of finishing touches. Even though finishing touches is not exactly the same thing as fine-tuning. Final definition. I would say final adjustments. Adjustments. Adjustments implies the same as tuning, as just making small changes. Because fine-tuning is making very small changes at the end. And final adjustments would be something like that. Yeah. It's an interesting activity. It's always good to learn new words, new terms, but also get the synonyms for them to keep our to make us not sound robotic, because that's a problem when we learn a new language. I know for myself, learning Italian. When I speak Italian, I sound like a robot because I say pre-programmed almost sentences and terms. But of course, learning synonyms and expanding your vocabulary helps with that, so you sound more like a human, not like a robot. design the future. So this is a pair activity for multiple students, but I think we discussed enough ideas in the past about new robots. It says in pairs, imagine you have entered an international competition to come up with an idea for a new type of robot and try to sell your idea to the rest of the group. This robot can be for anything: pleasure, helping the environment, medical purposes, helping certain types of people. Explain how the robot will work, the major advantages, and how it will change the world. So I think we discussed already some new ideas for robots. I would definitely try to make robotic legs. Of course, which exist in a way. Robotic legs, robotic arms that help people to do things they couldn't or wouldn't be able to do normally. So that's definitely a great advancement for prosthetic limbs, prosthetic arms, hands, things like that. Okay, well, that about ends it for today. We're finished. It is 1:50. So that wraps it up. Unless you have any more questions or any more ideas that you have, in a couple minutes, we'll close it down for the stream. But thank you very much for your participation, Johnny. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of what you do. And to all of those who are watching, maybe the recorded broadcast after, thank you as well. And I hope you enjoyed. Have a great day to you as well. So we'll just review a couple of things we learned. We discussed this vocabulary, some of these other connecting words, and some information about the developments going on in South Korea at the moment regarding robots. So I think we have some positive things to look forward to in the future about robots. Well, if that's all, thank you very much. Hopefully I'll see you next time, and have a great day. Bye-bye. Have a great day, and stay inside and stay safe. Stay healthy. Bye-bye.